Gratitude and Taking Initiative, Navigating Change as a Buddhist Woman in Transition by Sāmanerī Ariyā Dhammajīvī, formerly Dr. Marlai Ouch, co-founder of Cambodian Bhikkhuni Sangha Initiative. This is an audio of the paper and slides presented at the 19th Sagadita International Conference on Buddhist Women 2025. As a Buddhist woman in transition, I have been using gratitude and taking initiative to navigate change. Gratitude allows me to focus on the positive aspects of my life, to recognize the help, and to naturally reciprocate that kindness. Taking the initiative enables me to return the favor. With gratitude to my parents, I worked hard to support my family. With gratitude to my birthplace, I provided financial and social support back to my Cambodian community. With gratitude to the Buddha's teaching, I undertook an initiative to complete the Fourfold Assembly of the Buddhas and to establish inclusivity in my community, which led me to become a monastic recently. I am Sāmanerī Ariyā Dhammajīvī, formerly Dr. Marlai Ouch, a co-founder of Cambodian Bhikkhuni Sangha Initiative, with a doctorate in educational leadership from San Francisco State University. Venerable Tathālokā Therī, founding abbess and bhikkhunī preceptor of the Dhammadharini Bhikkhuni Sangha in Northern California, has served as my bhikkhuni mentor for the last 7+ years, as I have worked in support of reviving the Cambodian Bhikkhuni Sangha. On the full moon of November 15, 2024, I received my Sāmanerī pabbajjā. As a Sāmanerī, I continue to apply gratitude and taking initiative in my training. These two qualities are praised by the Buddha. He trained us to be grateful and thankful and not to forget even a small thing done for us. With gratitude for my training, I focus my initiative on harmony in the Sangha. I will use the Buddha's teaching to accomplish these initiatives. Gratitude to parents. As a Buddhist, I learned that parents cannot be repaid easily for being very helpful to their children. But they can be if their children help them to be faithful, ethical, generous, or knowledgeable in wisdom. So, with gratitude to my parents, I, as a refugee teenager, avoided wrong behavior, and instead I studied hard so that I could find a good-paying job to support my family. After I started working, I hosted a gratitude ceremony for my parents once a year around my birthday. I coordinated Dhamma classes at our local temple to help them ground in wisdom. I also sponsored their pilgrimage to the Buddhist sites in India to strengthen their faith. I further encouraged them to listen to my readings of the canonical suttas that I recorded on videos and share on YouTube and Facebook. I strove to be kind and helpful to them as they were to me. Gratitude to my parents kept me focused on the beneficial tasks. Taking on the burden and care of my family helped me strengthen my character, my ability. This ability then allowed me to see beyond my family. Gratitude to my birthplace. I was born in Cambodia, where Buddhism is the national religion. I came to the United States with my family during my teenage years as a refugee. I started school and built a life here and gave back to my Cambodian community. In Cambodia, I provided financial support to relatives, poor people, hospitals, Pali teachers, monks, and temples. In India and Nepal, I was a regular supporter of the Cambodian monasteries. In the U.S., I taught Cambodian language classes and coordinated Dhamma classes. I was an active member of 3 local Cambodian temples and of the Khmer Women's Alliance. I rally against deportation of Cambodian refugees in Northern California, which resulted in their releases and enabling them to become U.S. citizens. Gratitude to my birthplace has generated a well-rounded network of friends and supporters. This network connected my gratitude to the Buddha's teaching. Gratitude to the Buddha's teaching. Until 13 years ago, I did not know bhikkhunis existed or could be revived. Because of teaching Cambodian classes, Venerable Tathālokā Therī and another Bhikkhuni came to see me after class at my local temple in San Francisco, California. They were the first Bhikkhunis I saw, and I became curious. I started researching and found many positive teachings on the Fourfold Assembly: bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, laymen, and laywomen, and thus on bhikkhunis. These 5 verses demonstrate the Buddha's intention, goal, and purpose in establishing the Fourfold Assembly, and therefore his aim or founding mission statement as the Buddha. In the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the Buddha intended to establish the Fourfold Assembly when he was first awakened, and he determined that he would not enter Parinibbana until these conditions had been fulfilled. In the Kamila Sutta, the Buddha taught that the long lasting of his true teaching is when this assembly continues the respect and reverence for the teacher, the teaching, the training, and each other. In the Sangha Samaggi Sutta, he told us that harmony among the fourfolds of the assembly is for the benefit, welfare, and happiness of gods and humans. In Sopana Sutta, he enlightened to us that a beautiful Sangha consists of bhikkhus accomplished in virtue, greatly learned bhikkhunis, laymen endowed with faith, and lay women endowed with faith. And in the Dakkhina Vibhanga Sutta, he illuminated to us that a gift to the communities of both bhikkhus and bhikkhunis after his passing is the highest religious donation bestowed on a Sangha. These 5 verses triggered my sense of urgency to do what I could to help complete the Fourfold Assembly and thus propagate the Buddha's sasana. As a layperson, I helped spearhead the revival of the Cambodian Bhikkhuni Sangha and presented a paper on this at the 18th Sakadita Conference in 2023. This paper was chosen for the front page of the Spring 2025 Sakadita newsletter, Volume 33. However, many people in the Theravada tradition still have different beliefs and views that overlook the Buddha's efforts to establish the Fourfold Assembly. As part of my continued efforts, sharing records of bhikkhunis beyond India in the Buddha's lifetime is one of my initiatives to clear up some of those views. Records of great ancient bhikkhunis beyond India documented in the Pali text chronicles of Sri Lanka begin with the Emperor Asoka's mission to spread Buddhism to other countries in the 3rd century BCE. Sri Lankan Viceroy Anula Devi was the first woman to be ordained in Sri Lanka, together with her 1,000 women companions. Their ordination was facilitated by Dhammic diplomacy and statecraft between the Emperor of India and the King of Sri Lanka, delivering the Arahat Sanghamita Therī with an Arahat Bhikkhuni Sangha and the sapling of the sacred Bodhi tree along with a delegation of great expertise from India, both to teach and ordain aspirants as bhikkhunis as well as to share their knowledge with their lay community. Not long after their ordination with Sanghamita Therī, these first 1,000 bhikkhunis also attained the state of arahantship. Queen Anula Devi became known as Arahat Anulatisa Therī and is recorded as the first bhikkhuni arahant in Sri Lanka. Subsequently, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka and his 500 male companions were ordained and attained arahantship. This series of ordinations established the Fourfold Assembly and Arahat Bhikkhuni Sangha in Sri Lanka. Their stories have also been preserved in archaeological records and antiquities. The chronicles further record bhikkhunis who were teachers in Vinaya, the suttas, and Abhidhamma over the subsequent centuries in Sri Lanka. The Pali text chronicles of Sri Lanka also record short story of the Emperor Asoka's missions to other places outside of India during the same mission. The Arahat Sona Thero and the Arahat Uttara Thero of great psychic powers were sent to establish Buddhism in Savanabhumi, generally considered to refer to mainland Southeast Asia. They taught the canonical Brahmajala Sutta, the divine net, to the gathering of people and established them in refuges and precepts. 60,000 people penetrated in the Dhamma, and 3,500 sons and 1,500 daughters of good families went forth. However, records of who ordained these 1,500 women in Savanabhumi are not clear. Were they ordained by the Theras or by bhikkhunis via a similar Dhammic diplomacy as those in Sri Lanka? Did some or all of these men and women attain arahantship as those ordained in Sri Lanka? If so, Arahat bhikkhus and bhikkhunis would reside in Savanabhumi during that time, even if less than 100% of those who were ordained attained arahantship. Two records on Savanabhumi are found in Cambodia. First, a stone Sanskrit inscription K1419 mentions the word Savanabhumi dated to the 7th century. The inscription, translated as "The great king Isanvaraman is full of glory and bravery. He is the king of kings who rules over Savanabhumi until the sea, which is the border, while the kings in neighboring states honor his order to their heads." The stone inscription is displayed at the National Museum of Cambodia. Second, a Chinese record from the Sui dynasty published by the Buddhist Institute of Cambodia mentions many bhikkhus and bhikkhunis during the reign of King Isanvaraman. Furthermore, the Sanskrit word pabbajjā, Pali, pabbajjā, translated into Cambodian as bua, which is utilized only for ordained monastics, was recorded as being used to ordain young women. This is found in the Great Still of Pimminakas by Queen Antradevi. She was the chief queen of King Jaivaraman VII of Cambodia, who reigned from late 12th century to early 13th century CE. The use of the word pabbajjā, translated as bua, implies that those ordained women were at least Sāmanerīs, if not bhikkhunis. If we connected Emperor Asoka's mission to Savanabhumi to the previous records, Sona and Uttara Theros would have gone to Cambodia, although it was much bigger than it is today. Thus, bhikkhunis, or at least Sāmanerīs, are recorded as existing in Cambodia into the early 13th century CE. Records of at least two groups of Sri Lankan Sinhala bhikkhunis show the second, led by Debsara Therī, traveled to China by sea to give dual ordination to over 300 Chinese bhikkhuni at the Nenjin Temple in the 5th century CE, centuries before the bhikkhuni lineage in Sri Lanka died out around 1017 CE. This is the bhikkhuni lineage that has contributed to reviving the Sri Lanka Bhikkhuni Sangha from 1996 to 1998 to current. My gratitude to the Buddha's teaching has led me to go forth and ordain recently. As a monastic, I have an opportunity to fully live in a spiritual life according to the Buddha's teaching, and to share that life to inspire confidence of those without it and to increase confidence of those with it. Gratitude for my training. I chose my ordination to effectively help complete the Fourfold Assembly in my community, where the majority has been silent in support of bhikkhunis. My deep connections with the community enable me to be the first to receive my Sāmanerī pabbajjā with the full traditional Cambodian Buddhist ordination ceremony, which was celebrated by the Fourfold Assembly. However, Wat Mongkolawan, where I ordained, was not set up to provide accommodation or train female monastics. I am grateful and thankful to Venerable Tathālokā Therī for accepting to be my bhikkhuni teacher and mentor, and the Dhammadharini Bhikkhuni Sangha for me to stay and train. Dhammadharini Monastery is near Wat Mongkolawan and suitable for a day trip training from my Cambodian preceptor, Venerable Nuan Janara Nyenatipakau Mahathero. I'm committed to train according to the Buddha's envision. With gratitude for my training, I focus my initiative on harmony and Sangha, which I have made it for my theme as a monastic. I will apply the Buddha's teaching to sincerely live in harmony, appreciating each other without quarreling, blending like milk and water, and regarding each other with kindly eyes. This will drive harmony in the Fourfold Assembly as the Buddha envisioned and intended for the long-lived of his sasana, and thus for the benefit, welfare, and happiness of gods and humans. Gratitude and taking initiative have been the navigating principles of my life, which has been full of hope, joy, and inspiration amid our worldly conditions. They allow me to see my benefactors as my burdens and trigger my sense of urgency to create the best of my ability to help them. In doing so, I already helped myself in the process. To conclude my presentation, I would like to offer my deep gratitude to Venerable Sāmanerī Ariyā Dhammajīvī, abbess of Ariyā Vihara Buddhist Society of Malaysia, for supporting to ordain and train the first 3 women from Cambodia in 2022. Thank you, Aye.